you find that most athletes do have a moral compass, and it's fairly accurate in that they would do the right things. But I think that just as you do in society, you have people who will cheat and who are immoral. You're going to have some people like that in sport.
Perhaps the purest of all sports is athletics. In theory, it is simply a measure of what the human body is capable of doing. Therefore, it is common for athletes to believe they have been blessed with a God-given talent. But for some, even with faith, the temptation to enhance their natural ability is just too strong. So what happens when the temptation to cheat impacts on those that have not? In 2004, Dwayne Chambers, the British #1 sprinter, received a 2-year ban from athletics for drug abuse, and as a consequence would lose his medals from the previous 2 seasons, including those won in relay teams. Darren Campbell, an athlete of faith, would also lose his medals as part of those teams, even though he had not cheated. In 2006, Chambers returned to the track and ran with Campbell in the final of the sprint relay in the European Championships.
So I was told in an emergency, Dwayne would run, to which I had no problem with. We end up in a situation where winning gold was that important that was deemed an emergency, because we had other youngsters that could have ran, but we may not have won gold. But to me, that's the right way to go, rather than doing what they did. Can everybody not see that this situation's wrong? I'm having to run in this relay team, and now I'm put in a situation where potentially I win a gold and then have to do a lap of honour with somebody that's played a part in me losing medals. And all these emotions go through your mind, and you just end up in a situation where you just go, actually, I do know right from wrong. My faith allows me to know right from wrong. And if everybody else wants to kid themselves and pretend that this is okay, then you guys can pretend, but I really, really can't.
Britain would take gold, but Campbell chose not to celebrate with the team. Instead, he gave his immediate reaction to the media.
I never regret anything in life. The one thing I shouldn't have done is the interview straight off the track. And I didn't want to do the interview straight off the track because I knew I was emotional.
All I've ever tried to do is go out there and run. I just can't take all the rubbish anymore.
You know, I heard certain comments that I'm a drama queen and I'm this and I'm that. But I had to do what I felt was right. And joining in a lap of honour wasn't right.
I've got so many people in my life that respect me that I can't. How can I do a lap of honour?
It was written on my face. There's nothing I could do. At that moment in time, there was nothing I could do because it was written on my face how I felt.
Now retired, Campbell spends his time teaching inner-city kids like himself that they too can make the right decisions in life. The Street Athletics project he has developed along with his former coach Linford Christie is his way of giving back some of the faith shown in him, and through this, he believes kids are able to gain the self-pride and self-belief athletics gave him. With time now to reflect, he is still adamant that his faith allowed him to make the right decisions.
My 7-year-old son can go to school, and if anybody ever turns around to him and goes, your dad was a drugs cheat like everybody else in athletics, he can go, well, actually, my dad stood up for what he believed in.
While many athletes like Darren feel they are guided by their faith, others believe that their sporting achievements are purely as a result of divine intervention. In other words, preordained.
My races and the outcome of the races certainly wasn't preordained. I was given the talent and blessed with the talent, and the other people in that race have been blessed with a certain amount of talent as well. We all have, and it's up to us to go out there and run the best races that we possibly can.
In 1989, at the age of just 17 years and 3 months, Michael Chang became the youngest ever winner of a Grand Slam tennis tournament, defeating Stefan Edberg in the final of the French Open. While Chang played some great tennis, what sticks out more in my mind was the very last comment of his acceptance speech.
God bless everybody, and especially those in China.
This was no reference to his cultural origins.
I think if people really were to look at some different situations surrounding the French Open in '89, they would first and foremost see that the situation in Tiananmen Square was going on exactly the same time as the French Open. The crackdown actually happened the middle Sunday of the tournament there in Paris, and I felt like, in looking back upon that, I think that God had a much greater purpose than for me just to win the French Open. And God's purpose for me in winning was really to put a smile upon Chinese people's faces during a time when there wasn't a whole lot to smile about.
Chang still believes divine intervention helped him through debilitating cramps in his fourth-round match against Yvonne Lindell.
At one point, actually, in the fifth set, I had thought about quitting. I had actually started to walk to the chair umpire to basically tell him, I can't play anymore. But as I got to the service line, I believe the Spirit of the Lord stopped me. And then it dawned on me that if I were to quit that particular time, when I would struggle in my life in the future, second, third, fourth, fifth time that I would have, it made that much easier to quit. And so I just took it, point by point. I said, okay, Lord, I'm just going to go play it point by point, and I'm just going to go out and give my best. Whatever happens here, but I'm going to go out and try to finish this match as best as I know how.
While I don't share Michael's beliefs, coming from America, his strong views do not surprise me. In the U.S., unlike the U.K., religion is very visible and permeates sport at every level.
I think American athletes grow up in a society where people are more comfortable talking about religion and being open about their religions and their faith. I think in the UK, people are much more private about it and not so open to talk about their religious beliefs, and so that extends itself to the athletes as well. And American athletes aren't under any type of extended scrutiny when they announce their religious beliefs as they are in the UK.
I guess ultimately we all choose our own path, and faith, of course, is a personal thing. But what happens when that faith is tested? We hear people talk of turning the other cheek. But how many of us could truly do this when faced with adversity? In 1997, I'd seen this firsthand at a fight in Las Vegas, when an old friend of mine had his faith tested to the very limit. I decided to travel to Houston, Texas to catch up with him as he prepared for his latest up-and-coming fight.
Mr. Holyfield, what's going on, man? How you been? Good to see you. How's everything? Cool. How's training? Good? All right, what do you think?
At 44, Evander Holyfield still looks in great shape. He intends to end his career as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world once more, as he was in the early 90s. A closer look at his features reveals his right ear has healed well from the scars he sustained in '97 when Mike Tyson decided to take a bite out of it. 2 years earlier, while in prison for rape, Tyson had announced his conversion to Islam. But his actions in '97, which shocked the boxing world, would cause many to question his faith. Incredibly, the fight was allowed to continue. But after biting Holyfield's other ear, Tyson was finally disqualified. I wanted to know if Holyfield saw this episode as a test of his own Christian faith.
When I came back, my first thought was to bite him back. And just so happened, when I turned around, my corner guy shouted, "Keep your mind on the Lord." And at just that instant, I looked at him, and I was still mad, and I was like, and I was breathing. I went back to the corner, and they said, "Hey, everything gonna be all right, everything gonna be all right." And my first thought, yeah, it's gonna be all right, because I'm about to knock him out, I'm mad too. But after everything plays out, and it's going, okay, the devil trying to get the best of me. Then he bit my ear that second time. I turned around, I was getting ready to kick him right in the balls. But at the end, I realized when you believe in God, God get revenge himself. So he don't need you to get the revenge.
Holyfield's popularity today is in part because of the restraint he showed after the Tyson incident.
I run into a lot of Muslims. They would say, man, you know what? You're a strong man for what you did. You forgave him, even though he did that. It would have been hard for me to do it.
While he forgave Tyson for his actions after the fight, it wasn't until much later that he finally ran into him again.
We was at the All-Star basketball game in New York. And I was just sitting there watching the game. And I hear these people start yelling, watch out, watch out, watch out. And they said, look up, look up. And I look up like this. Tyson's over me. Just over me like this. And he put his hand down. And I turned around and I grabbed the hand. He said, it's all good? And I said, yeah. You know, when I see a guy like Mike Tyson, you know, in the point of him bite my ear and through frustration and all that, no, my thing is not to condemn him, but it showed me yet he ain't grown and matured in his faith to what he know that life's supposed to be.